Well, I am so excited to be here with you, Madalina. I have Madalina Iordache with me for the next few minutes to get to know her entrepreneurial story, her leadership journey. And I've gotten to know her through boards, through the board I've been leading for the last almost 3 years now, Board 10 out of Boca Raton, Florida. Madalina, it's so great to have you on the Leading Peers podcast.
Thanks, Leo. It's great to be here.
Madalina, tell us how a Romanian immigrant to the US ends up being the entrepreneur and leader of this stellar agency, marketing agency in the franchising space, Bright Pink Agency. How did it happen? Like the short 5-minute version of how you ended up settling in the US and starting this company.
Well, I wish I could tell you that I had this vision, or when I was 9 years old, I dreamt to be an entrepreneur, or I had my whole life charted. It was nothing like that. None of it was planned. I didn't plan to move to the States. It just kind of happened. I was very young. I was right after college. And while here, I didn't plan to work in web design for an agency. It just kind of happened. So I just went with it. And then 2008 kind of happened, which was the
Did you lose
recession.
your job?
I did not lose my job, but I saw that things were shifting, and I saw that the small agency I was working for was not doing well, that we were losing clients. And before the whole ship was sinking, I figured, let me build my own little boat so I have something to navigate this and it was actually before that that my boss, my first and only boss I had here in the States, planted a seed in my head saying, actually, he was mad at me saying, when one day when you have your own agency, you're going to do things your way. But for now, you're going to do them my way. And because I was young and I knew it all, like all young people, right? I have kids, I know, they know it all.
Hmm. Hmm.
All I heard from that was, what? One day I could have my own agency? So that's what stuck with me from that conversation. The seed was planted. So in 2008, I knew the company was going to close doors eventually. So I put up a website called Bright Pink Studio, showed it to my boss, and said, hey, I would like to start freelancing since this is closing. What do you think? And he looked at my website and laughed at me. He said, Bright Pink Studio, that is a stupid name. What is this? You should just freelance with your own name. He also forbid me from using any of the work I had done during the time at the agency to kind of showcase my skills as a graphic designer. That's what I was. I was a graphic designer. So I was like, okay, started from scratch, put a full portfolio, a mock portfolio together. I stayed with the company for a few more months. I helped them with the last few accounts, and they were basically a client at that point for a bit. And I picked up my first client from a Craigslist ad. I
Hmm.
don't know if you remember Craigslist. I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
still a thing, but just to show you, I heard people starting on Fiverr or on Facebook Marketplace. There's so many ways to start finding that first customer. And you know what's funny, Leo? That client, it's been almost 18 years now in November. That first client somehow started a series of events that one thing led to another, where they referred me a client that was a franchisor I didn't know at the time, and I still work with them to this day, 18 years later. Not with the agency, but with the franchisor. They introduced me basically accidentally into franchising. It took many years to realize what I had stumbled upon, but that was the beginning, and I never had the grand plan of starting this business. It was just me freelancing. I was just trying to replace my income. That was it at the time. But I enjoyed doing it. I loved working on a variety of projects with different clients. So about 6 months into it, I've recruited my sister to join me, basically poached her from the company she was working at. She was also fresh out of college, working as a computer engineer, and told her, hey, I'm doing this thing. I need a developer. I don't like who I'm outsourcing my development work to. Do you mind learning some HTML and see if you can help me?
Amazing. Well, there's already three things that I love. Number one, your boss, terrible boss, is part of the reason why you have this agency and probably motivated you quite a bit in the early stages to prove that you could do it. That's a lesson in leadership for everybody trying to retain a great employee of what not to do. The second theme that I really loved about this is that your first client can come from the most random of places. So at the beginning, you have to be maybe not too picky about how it starts, because one thing can lead to another. And this client you got from Craigslist, basically it became a very important client and introduced you to other opportunities, other clients you have. And then the third thing is that sometimes we start a business just because we enjoy what it does and not necessarily because we have a whole vision or strategy built out. So three very strong lessons about entrepreneurship and leadership right there. Let me ask you about the business today for people who've never heard of it, because I have the pleasure of hearing about it every month when we come together for boards, and I'm so delighted to see how every month you're making so much progress across so many areas. But for people who have no idea what Bright Pink Agency, tell us about what the company is and the size of the team and how it's evolved to what it is now.
So Bright Pink Agency is a company that builds websites, enterprise grade level websites for franchise brands. So we work with franchise companies with the corporate office to build the websites that represents their brand, represents their locations. That can be a couple dozen, a couple hundred, and sometimes also the franchise development or franchise sales website. Franchise brands are not like all the other businesses. They have some unique challenges, and we have learned over the years how to solve for those specific problems and how to do it the bright pink way, how we say it, very strategic, but ultimately in a way that empowers those brands to own what we build for them, to scale them, because that's the beauty of franchising, is scalability, and to find in us a partner that can support them throughout their growth journey.
Amazing. And what's the team like today?
So today we are about 25, a team of 25. And we are currently fully remote as of about a year ago. We used to have an office here in person in South Florida. And some of our team is still here in South Florida, but we are a global team with some specific pockets where most of our employees are located. And my sister, who's now my business partner and our president and COO, she lives in London, UK. So we have both continents covered.
Amazing. And you're still the CEO, right?
I'm the CEO, yes.
Madalina, you are a franchise marketing agency that builds websites. How did that happen? How did the selection of the niche, the franchise niche, come about? Because you were a designer from day one. You set out to build websites from day one because that's where the demand was in 2008, kind of the beginning years of the whole web. And all that's pretty clear, but why did you end up picking this niche of franchise companies?
Well, it's a funny story. So in the beginning, we were working with that first franchisor client, that my first Craigslist client.
Okay, there we go.
Introduced us to, but I didn't even know, because all we did for that client was on the technology side and we were subcontracting. So my sister Joni was the only one dealing with that account. So I had no idea. It really took until about, I want to say 2014, when we got to know a franchisor here in South Florida called PuroClean. And we started helping them with some non-website related projects, but ultimately we earned their trust and we started working on their website. And we did such a great job that the president of Puroclean, who became my franchising mentor in the meanwhile, Steve White, I will always be so grateful to his mentorship. He is the one who encouraged me, you should join the International Franchise Association. You should join the International Franchise Association. After I heard him mention this twice or three times, maybe twice, I told myself, I better listen to what Steve is telling me, or he's never going to give me any advice anymore. So of course I wanted to make my mentor proud. I was convinced that I would join. I will not like it, but I would tell Steve, I tried, but I didn't like it, or it didn't work out. But I never do anything halfway. So once I join something, I'm fully committed. I'm going to try it to the full extent and really get the full experience. So I joined the IFA in 2021. And of course I liked it, because here I am 5 years later. But I found the franchise community to be so welcoming, so supportive, and I've learned so much from my franchisor clients, because in order for us to deliver our best service to them, I really had to get to know not just how their website is set up and the technology part and their services, but really their culture and how they communicate that both internally and externally. And by getting close to their culture, I realize what a wonderful thing franchising is. It brings the American dream, the dream of business ownership, to people who otherwise maybe would not take that plunge into this adventure, with support and with the resources, so they don't have to make the same mistakes that me and anyone who started the business from scratch with no background or no guidance probably made along the way. And it's true that a franchise business has a much higher success rate than someone who's just started unassisted. So I really fell in love with that idea that it's making this possible to so many more people. And franchising is local, right? So ultimately, what we do and what I find incredibly rewarding from our work, what we do through the websites that we put together, we help them be more visible and more findable. We help them be accessible to more people in their community so they can grow their business, so they can put their kids through school, through activities, so they can offer jobs in their community, so they can support local charities, because I see all these other things that surrounds what they do, and I find that so incredibly rewarding.
Amazing. So I hear another theme here that I really like, which is you followed your client's advice that you should get involved in this. And that's a really important theme here, that you let your clients sort of lead you when they say, I think you should check this out. You should listen. You shouldn't necessarily do everything they tell you, or, because at the end of the day, you're the CEO and it's your responsibility to guide the business, but listen to your clients, see what they're telling you. And in this case, this person who wasn't just your client, but your mentor, ended up being right and having a huge impact on the direction of the company. So that's a real positive theme there for anybody out there leading a business. Listen to your customers, especially the ones that you most value and have most to teach you, right?
Well, I got so lucky with that, because Steve White is so well known and so esteemed in the franchise community, and he's really built an incredible culture at Puroclean. It took me years to realize that, of course, after being part of the community, to see his impact, not just on me, but on others in franchising. So yeah, I'm glad I paid attention and I listened.
Yeah. That's amazing. And look after your relationships is another big theme, because I'm sure he introduced you to a lot of people and opened many doors for you, helped you build your name in the community.
Well, it's interesting because beyond that first nudge towards this direction, he's been incredibly supportive. He's always been a reference for me. I had prospects call him, and he usually texts me and say, hey, someone just called me and asked about you, expect to hear from so and so. So it's just wonderful to have that support from him. And I have to say, it is because of the work that we've done those early years with Puroclean, and of course with that first franchise client as well, which is much smaller, that it opened up other opportunities for us to grow from, one big client to many, many others with hundreds of locations or dozens of locations. It wouldn't have been possible if that client, if Puroclean, if Steve White didn't trust me that I would deliver what I promised to deliver all those years ago.
I want to stay with this theme of the franchise niche because it's one of the things that I most admire about your company is how clear you are on who you serve, right? On your ideal client profile, how faithful you are to that particular niche. Today, how many clients do you serve that are franchisors?
Today, all of our clients are franchisors, so we have truly removed all, I don't want to call them distractions, but we used to have, up until a few years ago, these 3 lanes. Yes, we were working with franchisors, but we were working also with some local businesses and with nonprofits. We had accidentally built a name for ourselves in the nonprofit community in South Florida, and it was very rewarding to work with them and great way to help them. But really, the best way to make an impact is with something that scales easily. So the best way for us to do that was in franchising. So we did decide to stop marketing to the other type of businesses and really focus on what we do best, because that is really our unique. So we realized, yes, it's nice to build a site for a nonprofit, but we have to focus on what we know best and what is really our unique value proposition here. That's why we decided to stay within the niche. And it's a lot easier to market yourself when you know who you are and when you know who you are after. I know it may sound narrow to stay in franchising, but if you look a little closer, you realize that it's actually a huge market and we don't need a lot of clients. We have a couple of dozen franchisor clients that we work with, and we work with them not just on a project when we first build and launch their website, but on ongoing support. And we build a partnership with them. So we are their trusted partner to help them after the website launches. Because of that, I don't have to constantly look for new clients and replace them. We also don't build $6,000 websites. We build very large enterprise grade websites. And this is a lot more complex, but it's also, it makes for a better business model, in my opinion. Now, I could not have known this back in 2008. So I know that there's advice out there, pick a niche and stick with it. But sometimes in the beginning, you have to try a couple of things before you realize what is that niche and what's your lane. But when you find it, I'm going to tell you, it's just so much easier to market yourself, to make a name for yourself. Be the best known expert for your specific topic. I have people in my community that call me the website queen. I mean, I'm honored. I am flattered. I did not search for this term, but it just comes to show that we are very intentional to be known for websites, not for marketing in general. We're not a one-stop shop. We're not a generalist. We are just the best at websites, at franchise websites.
That's amazing. Yeah, two niches right there, franchise and website. So amazing. For those who are building a marketing company nowadays and you're trying to do full service marketing to any type of company under the sun, listen up, because it might take you some trials. I agree with Madalina, but eventually you got to pick what you're going to be the best at. That advice still holds true. I love what you said about why you love franchising companies. You said 4 things there which stuck with me. That you like their culture, you like how they're all able to scale. You said how their success rate is higher than other types of businesses. And you also said that they are very much local businesses, very intertwined with the local community. all great reasons to support franchises. In your case, though, your company is not a franchise, right? You are a fully owned agency. So when is a franchise right for a business, and when is franchising not the best path for a business?
Are you asking in a sense of as a form of expansion through franchising for a
Yeah,
business?
and have you considered expanding your company into a franchise?
It crossed my mind. Of course, it's impossible once you swim in this in
For
this
sure.
environment. I've also considered buying a franchise just to have that experience of a franchisee, so I can better serve my clients. But of course, all of those would be a distraction from my main core and core business and the focus on that. As far as expanding to franchising, the key here, it needs to be something that is not dependent on a core group of people, or I think pretty much any business is probably franchisable, but I think the way Brightpink is, I don't think it makes sense. Is it possible? Yeah, probably. But I think it's still very much a business that needs me personally involved, at least on the marketing, sales, business development, relationship development side. And this is part of what we offer with our services. It's not just about the website, it's the relationship that comes with the website. And for instance, just to give an example, one of my favorite things to do is go to my clients' conferences and speak to their franchisees and explain in a way that everyone can understand what it is that is being done for them from the marketing fund that funds the website that we build, and how our partnership with the home office works and how that impacts them at local level and what they can do to amplify all of that. So I don't know if this is very much, if you can bottle this up and spread it around. What makes something franchisable is if you can very well document all of those processes and put them in the hands of a person of average intelligence, average skills, average training, and they can execute on that and be successful with it. So that is the most successful franchise concepts. This is what they did. They made it very process driven and very simple to execute, where the franchise owner buys all of this and simply implements it in their local market, which leads to marketing because every local market is a little different, but the formula applies everywhere. So that's, in my opinion, what makes franchising successful. I don't think it's necessarily applicable to everyone quite as easily. Are you going to franchise Leading Peers?
No, but it's similar in the sense that a board leader that we select has to start their own groups. They don't have to buy a franchise, but they have to go through a certification process where we equip them to be able to start their group and run it successfully. So in a sense, they're not employees of ours. They're much more like franchisees than employees. But they're not franchisees because they don't have to buy the key or send us royalties. We actually continue to collect the fees from our members, and we pay them depending on the size of their boards and, of course, how many boards they run. So I do believe that there's something in franchising that is very applicable to Leading Peers because the culture and of ownership of the ecosystem of leaders that you're supporting is very much one we want our board leaders to have. And also the sense of responsibility that if you don't make it happen, Leading Peers is not going to send you work. You're going to have to do some business development. You're going to have to take care of your members well to retain them and to get them excited to refer to you. So in all of those senses, it's very much like a franchise, and I love it. I wanted to dive into your growth as a leader. Now, I know you did an incredible video testimonial for Leading Peers, so I don't want you to repeat anything you've already said that you've been amazing at, and there's a video of you now in our website I'm very thankful for. But more importantly, like, how does a person running a business that's being successful, as you were being, especially in the year you joined us, I think it was like beginning of 2023, around that time, about 3 years ago, how does a person that's successful come into the realization that it might be worth their while to jump into some type of leadership development program? What was it that made you say, I know that I'm successful, I know that I've been able to build a business and develop these clients and have these employees and lead a team and become the website queen and all of this and have a name in the International Association, but I still think I haven't reached my peak? Or what was it? Is it something like that I didn't reach my full potential? Or what is it that makes you say, I want to join something to develop myself?
You know, it's funny, I'm listening you to saying this as if I had that dialogue, but I'll be honest with you, I never thought of myself as like, oh, I'm successful. I don't see it that way. When you're in the day to day and you don't zoom out to see the entire journey, unless we're doing a podcast and talking about the journey and like, oh, that's kind of cool that's how it happened. But when you're in the day to day, I don't think of it as success or not success. Of course, we have metrics for everything for success. But I felt like I needed a group of peers that perhaps have stories or thoughts or doubts or obstacles similar to mine, and where I could openly bring my own wins and challenges, right? Because that's what we do. And I don't know what I necessarily expected. I know that I feel like I expected, and it's exactly what I got. Kind of like therapy, right? A place where you can go and be open and honest. You still have to do the work, but you get some guidance from people who maybe have been there. And then, even better than therapy, you actually get to share from your experience and maybe help someone else. So I was intrigued. I wanted to try. I knew that masterminds like this existed. I heard some stories, not about leading peers. I was actually pitched a few times by other CEO groups, but they were more online or a different type of setup. So when my friend Stephanie told me about this group, coming with the personal recommendation from someone I already trust, I felt like it was a sign that's it. I had to try.
Mm-hmm. So out of the 5 core values that Leading Peers stands for, which one is most important to you? Like, which one, when you look at it, you say, I'm big on that? Is it trust? Is it growth mindset? Is it accountability? Is it meaningful relationships? Or is it servant leadership? Do you have a favorite? Do you have one that when it
Please
comes
pick
up, you're
one.
like,
I think for me, it's going to be accountability. They're all important, but see, as the CEO, nobody really holds me accountable. My sister will call me out on things, and I'm grateful that she does. But also, everyone kind of tends to agree with you, and what you say is gospel, and you can't do anything wrong. Sure, I can. I like in our group that I feel the accountability, because if I have a challenge and it's the 3rd month in a row that I brought that challenge, I'm already embarrassed about that. I better do something about it, or at least have an answer for it, because I know that my peers are going to ask me about it. So I like that aspect of it.
amazing. Let's go to culture. You mentioned culture several times when you were talking about why the franchise industry was one that you really loved. And you talked about how much you learned about building a great culture from your main client that you started working with in 2014 in the franchise industry. What is unique about the culture of Bright Pink Agency? Your company is not a franchise business, but culture is important to you. So what is unique about your culture? What is sort of a non-negotiable where you guys are really, really consistent and active and committed to upholding a certain practice, habit, I don't know, a certain something that people in the company would all agree is vital to the culture?
Well, culture is one of those things that whether you know it or you don't, you have it.
Yeah,
And whether you define it or you don't, it's it's there.
yeah.
And if you're not intentional about it, it's going to maybe take a turn that you don't like. So we have also our core values. We call it EPIC Drive. That's the acronym for it. It stands for empathy, passion, integrity, collaboration, and drive. We didn't shorten that one because it sounded cool to be on this
Mhm.
EPIC Drive. But for us, empathy is very important. That's why it's the first one. And empathy meaning that you have to care. You have to care for what you do, who you do it with, who you do it for, and everything else comes from this one. And I think I'm quite certain, and I see it every day, that all of our team members embody that, and those who didn't have it are no longer in the team. I feel like sometimes it got us in trouble too, because you can end with that like ruinous empathy, to quote Kim Scott. But it is still something that drives us, because everything that comes from our hands that we work on, it shows that we care.
Mhm.
You have to care. The account managers have to care that the product we produce for our clients is what we promised, that operations delivers what sales sold, that everyone involved actually delivers. It leads to accountability, it leads to collaboration, it leads to all the other things.
Mm. I love it. One of my favorite lines is that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you want to be held as an expert by people, the first place is for you to honestly care about the people you're trying to serve. Because otherwise, what you have to say is not going to ring true. It's going to ring hollow to the people that you're saying it to. It doesn't seem like you have their best interests at heart and want to inspire. It seems like you have an agenda, and it's going to fall on flat ears. So I love what you said. And empathy is most related with, I think, in Leading Peers, our core value of servant leadership. And it's interesting, you put empathy first in Epic Drive, and we mentioned servant leadership last. But the reason we put it last is because whether you put it first or whether you put it last, it is that type of thing that everything stems from it. So that's why you want to put it first. But it's also the thing that ties it all together, which is why you want to put it last. So it doesn't fall in between. It's either the first or the last thing, right?
That is
I
so
love it.
true.
That's
So
great.
true.
Madalina, we're coming close to the end of our time together. I've so much enjoyed getting to know you better. And although we've been working together for 3 years, you know, me as the board leader of board number 10 out of Boca, and you as one of the founding members or most longest standing members of that board. I even got to know some new things in this conversation we're having. I even know how to pronounce your last name better than I did before. So I'll never again say Iordache. So Iordache, it is going forward. What is something you would like to share with a member of our community about you that may want to make them say, this is when I want to reach out to Madalina, or somebody who's not in Leading Peers, but's a CEO, a business owner, and you want to open that door for them to contact you and say, let's have a conversation because I'm interested. You know, what is that something that you want to invite? Is it you're looking to mentor somebody just like somebody did for you? Is it that you're looking to collaborate with a vendor or potentially develop more clients that are right for you? Is it you're looking to just meet other women or other people in marketing who are building companies or in AI or some type of area that you're fascinated about? Who outside of the people on your board, who I know we all love you, would you like to open the door to reach out to you?
I think I'm gonna go with anyone who is involved in the franchise community or would like to be involved in the franchise community.
Okay.
I am part of the Women's Franchise Committee here in South Florida, and we do hold events several times a year in person. I would love to see members from the leading peer communities, whether they're franchisees, franchisors, or franchise suppliers, join those events. And they can reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Leading Peers,
Do they
whatever
have
is
to be
easier.
female?
No, they do not have to be women.
Okay.
It's great if they are. Our mission is to support women in franchising, but our events are open to all, and we often do educational sessions or panels or other opportunities to meet with potential collaborators, clients, partners, and so on. So I would love that. And then if anyone already works in the franchise community, of course, would love to connect and exchange ideas. And perhaps there's ways we can help each other. Or if someone would like to adapt their services to the world of franchising, happy to be a resource for that as well and share from my experience those early days as a franchise suppliers and what it took to become well known in the community.
Thank you so much, Madalina Iordache. Pleasure having you on the Leading Peers podcast, and I'll see you next week at the board meeting.
Thanks, Leah. Looking forward to it. Thanks so much for having me.